If you tell me you've got a desire, I'm all in. Do you want to grow?
Absolutely.
Take notes and make sure it improves your business. Everybody wants to grow. You deserve to grow.
You don't pitch to investors to try your luck. You pitch to investors to win.
If it's not challenging, I don't think it's worth it.
The right advice to give in business is validate the idea first.
Most of you out there who want to grow, your issue is just starting, isn't it?
It's important that people just follow what they want to do.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime for all of us.
The podcast is not about them growing, it's about them helping others grow. Hello and welcome to I Want to Grow. This podcast is all about exactly that. I want to grow. But it's with our guests, it's not about them growing. It's about what they do for others to grow. And today I've got a very, very special guest all the way from the UK. Kristian, thank you so much. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm Kristian Feldborg. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Vesuvio Labs. So we are here to try to work with the local companies, startups and corporates to build the next generation of technology.
I'm really impressed with what you've done. We've known each other now we've met several times, and I love what you're doing within this ecosystem. It's not hard. Why are you here in Qatar?
It's not hard. I think it is pretty hard. Why are we here? We're here for the opportunity. I mean, I think and we've heard this from a number of people lately, that there is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be part of really building an ecosystem that can become world-class, world-leading, and export a lot of really exciting companies. It is hard. There are lots of stakeholders that needs to be brought together, but the opportunity is too good to miss.
Yeah, but it's such a small marketplace here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm from a small country as well. I'm from Denmark originally, 5 million people. Sometimes suffering that mentality as well there. I think you have to look at yourself as being part of the world, and Qatar absolutely is part of the world. It's not just Qatar. Big companies here, investments all over the world. I think we can utilize that network, all of the work that has been done by various organizations within Qatar to put it on the map internationally. And I think that's how you have to look at it, not just Doha, but Doha as a gateway to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And it was a tongue-in-cheek moment for me to ask you that, because that's what we hear, right? We hear from everybody that comes to Qatar, they've got a tendency of saying, yes, it's only a small marketplace. That's great for me. I want to just compete, right? I love the marketplace here. I love competition. And if you're good at your job, then you can compete.
Well, there's also something about where is it good to incubate a business. You don't necessarily want to start a company where there is an enormous amount of sort of mature, established players. I think in actually Doha can serve as an incubator for businesses, and with the right support, with the right ecosystem, internationalize, export themselves from here to the world once they're ready. So I see a lot of really big opportunities for us as Vesuvio Labs, but also obviously for the companies we work with. So that's why we're here.
Kristian, and you've got such a reputation back in the UK in London. Can you tell us the types of things that you're involved with in the companies that you've helped along the way?
Yeah, I mean, we are invested in quite a few companies, and we worked in fintech for quite a number of years, and I've worked in financial services for even longer than I would admit. We specialized in fintech and about half of that is insurtech, insurance. So we have some really exciting companies that in our portfolio. So you have to be from insurance to really get excited about insurance, I think. But let's say if you do a bank transfer today, you can send money anywhere in the world in 2 days. In insurance, if you sell an insurance policy, the supply chain behind that policy, the underwriter, the reinsurers, the markets, they might know about that 2-3 months later because of the inefficient process. So we helped build a business that is focused on that data exchange, real-time data exchange in that industry. That's a very exciting business. We do legal services, so we have a company that is growing now that is helping tenants understand their rights and deal with all of these disputes there with that they would have with their landlords. That's a good business. It obviously from a financial point of view, but also from a kind of feel-good point of view. We've done financial management, a financial management business that is sort of marrying the traditional e-wallet with mental health considerations. So how does it make you feel when you're, the way you are actually financially living your life? Are you doing the right things? So there's a sort of psychometric evaluation of your spending habits. So that's an interesting business. We've done loan origination, we've done insurance distribution across different products, home insurance. We do quite a bit in sort of holiday rentals. So there's quite a bit there.
How do you keep up with all of this?
Well, our job really is to find founders that are passionate about what they do, that know something about what they do, and then help them execute. Now, so it's about sitting down, empathizing with what they're about, what they're trying to achieve.
I love the word empathy.
No, well, it's a business, right? We're trying to do that as a business, because actually it doesn't have to be my idea. It should not be my idea. It should be their idea. But they don't know necessarily what it takes to establish a company, to build technology, to hire people, to market their product, to engage with different partners. So that's what we try to help them with. So keeping up is, it's really about saying, how do we enable them to become independent of us? So how do we get them over, let's say, a 2-3 year period to the point where actually they don't want to talk to me anymore? Then we've been pretty successful. So I don't want to be in charge of any of these companies. Ultimately, I want to enable them to run the show themselves. So, and you will find that obviously it's almost like with your kids, right? They're more dependent on you in the beginning, become more and more independent, and eventually they think you are in their way, which is amazing.
And with what you're saying there about the analogy with the kids, it's like having children, right? It's like having children. And sometimes they're not going to listen. Sometimes you're going to say, hey, don't touch that because it's really, really hot. But they're going to touch it, right?
Yeah, well, and that's almost what you're looking for as well, right? Because if you're not working with people that are a little bit like that, they're not going to do and have what it takes to go through all of that hard work that it is. I mean, it's not just the sort of fame and glamour. There's a lot of tough days there.
A lot of tough days. And I like the thing that you said, and it literally just put it into my mind about you've got to go. You said you've got to go through that hot. Don't touch that because it's hot. The thing with it is it must gain respect from them to you. because they'll realize that you did tell them, you did care. I'm going to tell you now that's hot. Don't touch it. They will touch it, and they'll say, why didn't I listen to Kristian? Why didn't I? And it builds that relationship, I suppose, that is as you said, it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, well, sometimes I do. I mean, sometimes I don't say it. Just, I mean, you have to learn certain things, right, by yourself. Again, using the children as the analogy, you can't tell them everything, right? Something has to be experienced. What you can do is make sure that you help build a framework around them where it doesn't end their dream, that there is some boundaries, some safety net there that makes it possible to make some of those mistakes. That it lives within a space that is manageable, because you have to gain your own experiences. But obviously everyone would prefer that those experiences are not necessarily costing them their business, their dream, and often many other things in the process, right? So that's kind of more my thinking anyway. It's not about telling everyone everything. It's about saying, okay, we have some processes that we can put in place. We are not perfect either, but we are kind of more experienced than perhaps, an individual would be that is, have worked in a corporate for 10 years. And because of that, we can help people on that journey and make it more likely that you can get your product to market. I can't guarantee that it's going to work, but I can guarantee that we are way more likely to get your product live in the market, which obviously is kind of where the venture capital, traditional venture capital investors will sort of come in and take it to that next stage. And this is where we become less relevant, you could say, in their journey, because they know their business better than we do. We've helped create a team, and then actually we want to focus on that next generation.
You say that it's a really nice feeling when they don't need you as much. It is a nice feeling, but did that hurt in the early days that you were then all of a sudden walking backwards and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a nice feeling, ish, right? The process is not always easy. There is a moment there in every one of those groups. Startups don't all succeed, and that's a challenge, because we get very invested in these companies. We empathize with the founders and their situations, and there is a moment there, one way or the other, where you have to come to a decision whether that company is not going to make it. That's a tough time, or where they are moving on to that next stage. And although I can be happy now, the process of getting there can be a bit challenging, and we're still learning how to do that well. And I am, sure that next time we go through it will be a little bit easier, and then a little bit easier. But yeah, I mean, when you're finding yourself less important, of course it kind of hurts you a little bit. It hurts your pride a bit, and not just me. Obviously, we have a team. Very often, it's not me working with these founders directly. We have a team of very, very strong, very committed people, and it's often them that are even more personally invested in these things, and we then have to pull back and say, well, now it's we should be doing something else. And yes, it's a process.
There's the emotional side of things that can be quite draining. Do you ever get used to it, or is it danger to get used to it?
Well, we talk about this a little bit. I mean, it is dangerous to get too used to it. I agree. I think my own journey, my own business, all these other companies we are involved with, lots of problems, big problems, and you do become thick-skinned eventually, or perhaps desensitized a little bit. So you have to then remind yourself that some other people's issues, although they might not seem enormous to you, because you've been dealing with 7 legal issues and whatever, to them it's enormous. To them it's a new feeling, a new experience, and that is something you have to try to remind yourself. And okay. It's not easy.
What gave you this? And I'm going to take you back now. I want to just take you back a little bit to look up and say, where did this calling come from? Because this is a vocation, what you've got involved with. What was that? What made you get that burning desire that you say, I want to do something different? I want to, and it must have been quite scary for that decision to come as well.
Yeah, there are two parts to that. What made me do it, going really back, I remember young, 15, 16 years old, and I remember walking around all night because I couldn't sleep. I had all these ideas. I had this whole book of ideas, right? I wanted to start a sushi restaurant and a go-kart track and all these things. And I walked around in the neighborhood and thought about, I'm going to build all these things, and then I'm going to buy that house. And then I think I got some opportunities to travel, to experience different parts of the world. And I think those things came together and shaped me into someone who liked that adventure. I don't come from a lot of wealth, so initially my way of becoming an entrepreneur was to work with other entrepreneurs. It's the way I became a number 2, right? I was the person that could help and did help a number of different entrepreneurs in different countries. And then ultimately made that a company, made it a business. So that bit almost came natural. From as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to create something. The thing about creating it with other people, in a way, that was my way of becoming, of achieving that, because I didn't have, 10 millions, and in those early days, there wasn't really a start like incubators, accelerators, all that stuff. If you wanted to do something like that, you had to find some sort of successful business person and work with them on whatever it was that they were trying to do.
And just to jump in there before I forget, was it easier back then to raise finance than it is today?
No. There was no way of raising finance that time. And in fact, nobody kind of did. I mean, let's reveal our age here. I entered the job market as a sort of 16-year, 17-year-old programmer just before the dot-com burst. And it was like a dream to just be allowed to do, sit in front of a computer and do things, right? So it wasn't like you didn't really think about, being a startup or anything. You just thought, this is amazing. They have a fast computer and some other guys, and this guy girl can do graphics, and it was computer games at first for me. But there was no finance really. I mean, you got some sort of government grant, sort of educational thing, there were no ways to find finance. So it's totally different now in some parts of the world, and we probably talk about some of the challenges around that in Qatar. So there's more of an ecosystem now in the UK, in the US, and so on. But there wasn't then. So you have to kind of either work with people that were already a business, or you had to find something that was monetizable very, very early on, right?
Yeah.
So you could launch in that way.
That word bootstrapping, you had to do 3 or 4 jobs.
Yeah.
Just to keep that dream alive.
Well, that was proper bootstrapping, right? And we that wasn't really anything other than maybe having another job on the side or something.
Yeah. With the kind of, I want to also bring back a memory of the first country that was not your own, but you went into another country, what that was like, because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be listening to this right now, and they're looking at taking a jump. They should be taking a jump in Qatar, that's for sure, because it's a wonderful opportunity. There's many different opportunities, but the lifestyle is quite incredible. So what was it like for you to bring back that memory again, that first country, and what was those fear points that was the most scariest?
Well, and it wasn't like immediate for me. I actually remember going to the States, visiting some schools there, because I had some people that thought I should go and study there, and I couldn't get my head around that. Why would I go to another country and study? But somehow, like about a year later, I sort of just decided that I did want to try to live somewhere else. And so the first country that I sort of lived in for a longer period of time was South Korea. And yeah, that was quite a big jump, and it was pre-smartphones, and so it felt like really, really far away. But I still think that that's really an amazing way to grow. Completely take yourself out of your environment, go somewhere else, immerse yourself, especially at that age, sort of university age. You're kind of open to new ideas, new ways of being. So it was it was scary. It was totally different language and all those things. But I think I gained so much from it.
The scary thing, I've been to South Korea, and I think that the biggest scary point that I had was they were 6 hours or 7 hours in front, and you knew you were on your own, because we would be in the morning, they would be in the evening. They would be in the back where you come from, they would be in the night, and it was like you were on your own. There was nobody to talk to. Because of that time difference, you really did think you were on your own, and that was a big factor for me, especially with South Korea. It's like, but I can't talk to anybody. I can't talk to anybody. They're all sleeping. So that was a big scary one for me. But going into a different country, it's not easy, and you've got to kind of. I keep on saying this to everybody: just keep putting your hand out. You shake hands with people, because you never know who you're going to come across.
And usually when you do that, I saw an old Steve Jobs interview where he was saying, well, an entrepreneur is someone who is not afraid to ask for help. And I think very often when you do ask and when you do engage, you're actually surprised with how interested people are in you and in helping you. I had amazing experiences there and in many other places. Really, just like you say, sticking your hand out and engaging, getting interested in what people are doing. So I think it's not very often when you feel that that's not the case, that the world is not like that. You should probably ask yourself whether you have made any effort to engage. So I think this is one of the things you do learn when you're on your own.
Yeah.
Because I do remember the very, very first arrival for me, and it was pretty disorganized, I would say, from my side. So I went there. I went to the sort of south of the country, to Busan, which was even less, if developed as a sort of expat area. And I checked myself into this hotel and really felt alone. Walked around there for sort of 2-3 days, no friends, nothing. And finally went to the reception in the hotel and literally asked the guy if I could take him out for a meal. The guy working in the restaurant. So we went out there, and I sort of remember him telling me a few things about Korean customs and whatever. But that was a pretty good example of the very kind of direct motivation that you have when you're just walking around by yourself, and you see someone and you think, well, they might be able to speak English. Let's go and ask them what they're doing. So no, that I think that's a very healthy thing.
I kind of, because it's talking to you now, it's bringing back my memories. And I remember when we were struggling for money. We couldn't pay the hotel bill. We put the deadbolt lock on the door because we didn't know where we were going to get the money to fund ourselves, let alone to eat. And I remember the guy down in the reception where there was a coffee shop down there, and at the end of the night we could go all the way down the stairs, and he would put the parcel together just to be able to get you through. And those are the things that got you through, right? And I'm still friends with him now after 15 years. I'm still friends with him. And it's those bonds that you'll always remember, and what will keep you leveled in going forward. And in saying that, what is your success now? You've got such a successful company, and you're reaching out to all corners of the globe. How do you gauge, as the founder and the top guy, how do you gauge your success now?
Well, I mean, success is an interesting one, right? So what we have is we've helped create value. So we are successful in the sense that we've invested, and those investments are worth money. We make mistakes as well, and one of the things that we had learned, still learning, is the importance of structuring this type of business like ours. So what does that mean? It means that some of these issues that you're talking about are still issues, because you can't feed yourself with income that you're going to get in 5 years, even though on paper it looks like 5-10 million or whatever. But right now you have a problem.
Yeah.
So we have to go through our own waves, and the wave that we are still going through has to do with separating different activities. And again, a really important lesson that I had to learn, and now we hopefully can help others learn, is balancing the now with the later, and how we separate the activity of doing the work from the activity of investing in these businesses. And so this is actually our biggest piece of work at the moment. So no, we are not, so there's two ways of answering your questions. One is, yes, we've done well, and on the balance sheet, it looks good. The other is, well, we're still fighting, right? We're still a startup. We still have all these kind of problems. We're a startup times 10, right? And so it doesn't feel like that at all, right? We're still very much in it, completely, and we probably will be for another couple of years.
But I think the type of people that we, because I'm feeling something from the type of people we are, we're never going to be satisfied with whatever stage that we get to in our lives. It's always going to be there to try to help that next person, try to bring that next person along?
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's an interesting question or an observation. Maybe that's also why you need structure and you need other people, because if you are like that, and yes, that is, I've said many times to people here in Qatar when they ask me what do you want to achieve, when do you want to exit, what's your valuation, where's your this, that, and I would rather sit at that marina with other people. I would rather sit there with my friends that we went through all of this with, and they all have a small boat, rather than sit there all by myself with my big boat. So on that, on one hand, there's that. On the other hand, you also have to be realistic that it is business, and if you don't have a process of separating your emotions sometimes from the reality, then you will struggle, and that's something that I also had to learn, that you have to sometimes make decisions that are tough business decisions that are not necessarily that hurts you as well, right? But if you want to continue, you have to do that. So there are kind of absolutely a motivation there for me to be part of creating things, and be part of creating things with other people and enabling other people.
Those things, and I want to gain something from this myself. Those things that you're just talking about there, about sometimes you've got to evaluate it and whether you've got to make the decision to pull the plug, let's say.
Yeah.
That must be such a difficult process to have to deal with.
Yeah.
How do you get through that? How is it that you can get to a stage where you've got to pull it?
Well, I mean, but obviously, very often it starts with financial strain and constraints. It can also be other personal issues, or just the fact that you've sort of realized that it's not gonna work for all sorts of reasons. But it takes a while. And it's one of the hardest things. And to be fair, it's not always me pulling the plug. It can also be them pulling the plug. If a relationship doesn't work, you might end up in a divorce. And it's not an easy process, as we all know, right? And we might both know it's not working. But whoever says it's whoever it's set to gets very obviously more upset by it, very hurt by it. Exactly like a breakup, right? So it's tough. And it's very difficult to then agree at that stage what the sort of exit or separation should look like, because there are financial considerations, intellectual property, other things. So it's very, very difficult. And I suppose what I'm starting to learn is it's good, just like in a marriage, to maybe set out some expectations from the beginning, and even think about from the beginning what will happen if it doesn't work out. Because it's a lot easier if you have a bit of a framework to refer to when you're in that situation, rather than having to sort of make it up when it's pretty tough.
These were difficult subjects just right now, and sometimes it's stuff that we don't want to talk about because it's not the nicest feelings, but it's good for you to listen to it, because you must think sometimes, and I've heard it so many times, where you might think being an investor is something easy. You're seeing right now you're seeing the warts and all, the feelings, the emotions that you're going to have to go through, and it's not pleasant. And sometimes it's not always about the money. It's about those feelings and the journey that you've been on. So don't underestimate the feelings that the investor's got to go through and the decisions why he's going to let you have the money and not somebody else. So this is a really difficult one. So appreciate that. And I just want you to see that side of the story. Okay, that was great. I saw something on your post today, which it was saying something is coming. How much can you tell us about this something?
Well, firstly, when you said that to me and we had a chat earlier, I didn't know what that something was, because there's a number of somethings, exciting things coming for us in Qatar in terms of businesses that we're going to work with. But I'm guessing what you're referring to is we have realized that the missing piece, if you like, in the ecosystem, besides our involvement, which we think is instrumental, is early stage capital, early stage venture capital. So we are working very hard at the moment to raise a seed fund, a pre-seed fund, if you like, so to help us incubate early stage companies. We are getting quite a lot of support. I think there's a broad realization in the community, in the country, that this is something that can be really big. So we are very excited to be working towards that. If that's the post that you mean.
I'm sure that there's going to be some news coming out in the next few days, but let's
so that's a different thing. Okay. Yeah. So there's another different bigger thing which I can't say so much about, but you can I
won't put you on the spot, but we're going to keep everybody up to speed with everything, because it's going to be in the next couple of days, and I'm really excited for you, because you and your team, and I will say you and your team, have done wonders to get to this stage, because it's not an easy journey, and you believe you have the conviction to put your money where your mouth is, and you've made those steps to do something very special here, and we're all looking and expecting some big things, because it's already happening.
Yeah, but I mean, what I found, and this is really important, when I arrived here, I met so many ambitious people, so many interesting people like yourself, that are working towards that goal of helping to create an entrepreneurial ecosystem, great, exciting companies that can compete all over the world. So it's natural for us to be here, because I can probably list 100 people that I think are really amazing, and a lot of those people you don't expect that necessarily that to be here. Certainly this is not necessarily the perception outside before you arrive, but I think there are so many things here, so many people here, and we just need to connect them. And then it's an opportunity of a lifetime for all of us. And that's why you are sitting here talking to me, and that's why I'm sitting here talking to you. We want to be part of that. We recognize that this is our chance to be part of something exciting
and special.
Special.
When you just brought those things up, the hairs on the back of my neck start standing on end, because there is something exciting that's happening in Qatar, and people say, hey, really small, and we joked at the very beginning of the podcast was, it's a small marketplace, but what an exciting marketplace where you got the opportunity to stand tall.
Yeah. And
that's what I like about it. And it's like with people like yourself that's coming here and identifying that and using your experiences back from the UK and all over the world. I saw you in, is it Malaysia last week, or somewhere in the Far East, which is incredible. The amount of time, and one of the things was how you keep up. I just don't know know how you keep up from all the different time zones, but you're doing a fantastic job, and it gives inspiration to everybody with what you're trying to do here in Qatar. And I congratulate. I really do congratulate. The one thing that I was going to say to you was, and I know that people are saying, I can hear people shouting, and I wanted to do something different because you're an investor and venture capital, etc., Venture Labs. People are saying, oh, what's he looking for? What's he looking for everybody knows. They're the same things that everybody's looking for from your perspective. Is it got a good team? Have they got something that's going to solve something? But give us your advice. Instead of going through those, give us your advice on what they should be focusing on. If there's there's startups out there now, what should they really be pinpointing and putting so much work into?
I mean, work. Well, they have to believe that, or understand it's work.
Yeah.
Work is work, right?
Yeah.
You put work into working. And if I was to say one thing that these successful founders, entrepreneurs that we work with and I know of has in common, it's that fire. It's that burning desire to succeed. So you have to focus on doing something you really, really believe in. Don't just start a business just because you want to be a startup business, a founder. Start a business doing something that you love doing. And if you do it well, you can succeed. If you're the best at something, almost anything, you can be a success. There's a company, so again, I'm from Denmark, and one of the most successful businesses from there, I saw the founder talk about one of his first pitches to a big investor. And the investor, they, many years later, when they had successful IPO and all this, said to him, that time you pitched to me, I had no idea what you were talking about. But you said it with so much passion that I just had to be on that journey with you. So it's about that. It's about focusing on really being passionate about what you do. And passion also means work. Show with your work how passionate you are. Then I think you will be successful, regardless of whether you're talking to us or anyone. And you might have to, part of that passion, you might have to pitch that thing to 1,000 people. You have to get up the next day and still believe it. And I think that's what it's about. This thing about whether it's 7 slides or whatever, I don't think it's about that. It's about whether or not you have the passion, the drive, and that burning desire to actually wake up every morning feeling pretty rough from the last night that, you were rejected by 7, investors, and say, well, today is my day. So I think that's what we are. What we're looking for.
That is just perfect. That is perfect, and that's real value. That is real value. And my last question: why don't you've been so successful? You must have your value must be huge. What keeps you? You could go and retire right now, and live a happy ever after life. What is it that keeps pushing you forward?
But again, going back to your point there, I mean, with my earlier point, yes, there's value, but actually all of that value is invested, all of it. So it doesn't feel like that, really. It certainly it doesn't feel like that to anyone, right? And yes, if you decide to, if you're building houses, and you take the kind of profits from one building and you want to build a bigger building, and you take the profits from that and you put it into a bigger building. It never feels like you have any money, right? And it really doesn't. So of course, eventually you can stop. I don't know. I don't know why if I would stop. I don't. It's not about that actually. I don't have any specific thing I want to buy. I can't see myself retiring ever, probably. I think eventually you get older and you probably think, okay, people around you need a bit more stability and safety. Other than that, I think I'm here on Earth to do my best to do, to make things. I want to feel like when I'm not here anymore that at least, I did my best. So that's me.
And what a perfect way to end the show. Thank you so much for coming on and spending this valuable time that you've got on this very short visit to Qatar. But thanks very much for coming in to spend that time with us. And for me, it was an absolute pleasure. And it gives me so much joy listening to your story and what you've achieved and how you continually go on because of what you love. And everybody today, that was the message that you need to take out of this. You have the ability, like every one of us. Kristian never had the money that somebody pumped into him in the early days. He done it through the hard way. He done it and taken risk. And that's what everyone has got the option of doing. Just like me, just like you, just like anybody. All you've got to do is work twice as hard as everybody else. And if you love what you do, you just keep on going because somebody's going to value that one day. And it could be just Kristian. You saw a side of Kristian today that I'm telling you, you've got to be in touch with Vesuvio Labs. Honestly, they're here in Qatar and you need to be talking to them if you're into this tech industry side of things because they care. You've just seen from Kristian how much he cares. And you've got to be talking to them because if you've got that desire, these are the people that can help you get to that next level. So everybody, thanks for listening. Kristian, thank you so much for being on the show. It was an absolutely magical event for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much and thank you too.